obviously your feedback was important to her.
My feedback?
Well, your family's feedback. Your family's...
Once or twice I got in trouble for my feedback.
Well, yeah, we... Well, yeah, do you want to tell one of those stories?
Are there any relatives of Peggy Lee in the audience? No? Thank God. Okay. One of the shows, I was brought up, my dad worked for Sinatra, Dot worked for Judy, so I was brought up to revere a certain type of sound. Judy, Frank, Perry Como, Tony Bennett, Edie Gourmet, that kind of sound, I loved it. So when people came on who sang differently, and I was only 8 years old, I didn't think they were any damn good. So one night, Peggy Lee's her guest, and I'm in my aunt's room watching the show, and I just comment to Doc that, well, I don't like her, she can't sing, she's terrible. You know, there's no vibrato, there's no whatever, she wasn't belting, she wasn't, you know. And Dot looked at me as though I was nuts when she said, do you know who she is? And she proceeded to describe different types of entertainment, different types of singers and venues. Peggy Lee is a very talented artist. She writes music, she sings, she's whatever. Judy isn't the only type of singer there is in the world. I didn't buy that one bit. So 9 o'clock comes, or 10 o'clock, whenever the show's over, phone rings. I say, hi Judy, we're chatting for a moment. I give the phone to Dot, they're talking. About 4 or 5 minutes later, the conversation lags, and Dot is saying, come here, come in here. And she hands me the phone. She said, Judy wants to talk to you. And I'm thinking, this is a first. And I pick up the phone, and I say, hi, Judy. And she goes very quietly, kind of in a deadly voice, I understand you didn't like one of my guests. And I wanted to go through the floor. And she was great about it. She gave me the same spiel Dot did about other people can sing differently than she sings, and they're just as great. You know, so I learned my lesson.
So it was a teaching moment.
It was a teaching moment that taught me to keep my mouth shut.
And did you ever go to a taping of the show? Or?
No.
Okay.
No, I was not allowed to.
Too young
I
to do
think
that?
I went to, there were other times, my dad worked on the Sinatra Judy Dean show.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I was hanging around in the background, but I've never actually gotten, no, they didn't trust me. I was known to wander off and do things.
Yeah, you got into a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I
yes.
Sure.
comment or point out what, to my understanding, is your aunt's, Dottie's, big contribution to Judy's makeup was, and I think it was on Meet Me in St. Louis,
Yeah.
that she did a white underline on the top of the bottom of the eyelid.
Blue.
Or was it blue?
Blue.
Oh, okay.
Very pale,
And
light blue.
you know, maybe you can even see, I know in one of the other pictures you can see a little bit more, but the idea was to make her eyes bigger, right?
Right. Actually, I just found out tonight that I was looking at some of the pictures you had out there, and I recognized the outfit from one of them, and it happens to be from Girl Crazy. And Dot had that same picture, autographed, inscribed by Judy, so I have no idea if they had some kind of connection prior to Meet Me in St. Louis or not. They could, and that's the one that I knew about. There could have been earlier ones, I don't know. But Dietrich had the white, Judy had the blue. Yeah,
So
different
that was
colors.
a technique, but that was a technique that was done on Dietrich then too?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
And so I know that Judy spent a lot of time at your aunt's house. She would come over for visits and everything. And I'm trying to remember the story from the book about listening to records of hers. The first time that you listened to one of Judy's records.
When I didn't think she was who she was.
Yeah.
That one?
Yeah.
We had two albums of Judy's when I was really little. I moved in with Dot when I was about 3.5. And there was the Judy Garland's Greatest Hits, which there's a cover of it outside, and then there's Show Business. And if you saw the cover of the Judy Garland's Greatest Hit, she's coiffed and she's gorgeous, and it kind of looks sort of like that, a little older. And that's who I thought she was. So one day, I was probably not more than 4.5, and a lady comes to visit, and I had played the records a lot, so I knew the sound. And Dot is bringing me this woman to, say hello. You had to curtsy, you had to be nice, that kind of thing. And she's going, this is Judy, this is the lady on the record, on your record. And I look at the record, and I look at her, and I go, no, that's not her. I mean, here she was with the hair and the pants and the, no. And Judy cackled. She thought it was the funniest thing, that I wouldn't believe who she was. I also hung up on her once when she sang Over the Rainbow to me.
What?
And then, yeah.
Why would you do that, Meredith?
I was an idiot. I used to get really nervous about things when I was a little kid, and the one thing that would calm me down was hearing the record, not Judy, but the record of Over the Rainbow. We had a 45 of her singing Over the Rainbow with a jitterbug on the flip side.
So that would have been the MGM.
Yes, but I also had
1939 version.
right, and I also had the other album, of course, where she sings Over the Rainbow. And Dot knew if she wanted me to calm down or get out of bed or whatever I was having a problem with, she played the record. Well, one day she somehow got the brilliant idea to play, what did they say, the Scandinavian in A Star Is Born. She had the Scandinavian. So she dials a phone number, and I hadn't connected Judy with this song at all. She dials the phone, holds it out to me, because I wasn't coming out of my room. I was maybe 6, maybe not 5. And I hear, somewhere, and I'm listening, and I don't want to hear this. I want to hear my record. I don't know, so boom. And Dot goes, what did you do? And she's going, she was like incredulous. The phone rings, 10 seconds later, Dot picks up the phone. She doesn't say anything, she listens, and she holds out the phone, and I hear this woman cackling, laughing her head off. And Dot goes, do you know what you just did? I go, no, I didn't want to hear that. I want to hear my record. So she and Judy got a big kick out of that.
If only you had recorded these conversations. I mean, come on, Meredith. You knew we were going to have this event tonight.
I wasn't allowed to record. I actually had a recorder not until a few years later, and I made some recordings that Dot subsequently destroyed. So I won't go into what they were. But.
Wow.
Now, do you want to tell the short version of the roller skating story that you told me at lunch the other day? Can you do?
Okay,
Can you do a quickie version?
I'll do it very quickly. I'll try to do it quickly. When I was 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, roller skating was my passion. I was really good at it. I enjoyed it. I was hell on wheels. If you were a pedestrian in my way, watch out. So every day after school, I loved to come home, put on my fancy schmancy shoe skates, and run out the door and go skating. One day I come home, Judy's in the kitchen with Dottie, and I always had to, whoever was there, not just Judy, I had to stop, say hello, how are you, all the stuff that little kids have to do. I didn't do any of that. I ran in, said, I gotta go skate. Boom, ran into my room. As I'm running into my room, I could feel daggers on my back because they were both, I was totally going against the rules of the house. And Dot yells at me as I'm walking into my room, if you're gonna go skating, put on some long pants. So naturally, about 5 minutes later, I come out wearing shorts and my skates, which was not allowed in the house. I go thundering out the back door, totally ignoring the 2 ladies in the kitchen. And I start skating around the block several times. And one of the things you need to know is there was one empty lot left on my block, just one. And you know what an empty lot looks like with the debris and the stuff on the sidewalk and the bits of twigs and glass and what have you. So I probably hit the block for the 3rd time, and I must not have paid attention, hit a crack or some debris in the sidewalk, went down, slid the entire length of that lot on my thigh, in my shorts, and all gone. And I was furious. I remember lying there being angry at Judy for coming over, because if she hadn't come over, I wouldn't have done what I did. I was angry at Dot for telling me to wear long pants.
Misplaced anger.
It wasn't misplaced, because if she hadn't told me to wear long pants, I would have worn long pants. So anyway, I come stomping home, stomping into the kitchen with my skates on, which was again a big no-no, and I announced to them I fell down. Right. So I go into the bathroom and I'm all bloody and upset and mad, and I'm trying very hard to pick things out of it without washing it, without cleaning it, and without doing any of the things a grown-up would do. So I'm picking away, and I sense a presence in the room about a minute later, and guess who it is? It's Judy. She grabs a washcloth, warm water, iodine, And she's doing, yes, thank you. She's torturing me is what she's doing. She's cleaning it off, doing all this stuff. And I'm just mad. I didn't talk to her. I wanted to kill her. I was so mad. So I'm sitting there putting up with this, and I could feel something building up in her. I didn't say a word, and I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, she finishes up, she looks at me, and she goes, you know, if you hadn't run out of here with your head up your ass, you would have seen where you were going. And I wanted to kill her. I have never come so close to hitting someone. And I was looking at her, and I wanted to, and then I got it. I got this image of me with my head up my own rear end, and I go, how could you walk around with your head up your own rear end? And I started to crack up, and she laughed, and it was all better.
Well, obvious. That's a great story. I don't know. That's a great story. Because when you're a kid, everything is so literal. So head up, you're like, how is that possible?
I couldn't imagine how to do it. I was trying to figure it out.
Yeah. So obviously, you Dot remained friends with Judy until she passed away, and since that time, you've since, I'm assuming, had even a greater appreciation for her talent, and not only that, but as a friend and a mentor to you. Maybe you could talk about sort of her legacy as you grew older, once you realized, gosh, this person wasn't just a friend of my mom's. This was a legend.
My aunt. My mom.
A friend of your aunt's. I'm sorry.
Until the day Judy died, I didn't have a clue. I knew she made 2 movies, Wizard of Oz and A Star is Born, and she made 2 records, and that was it. I mean, I remember one day she was on Ed Sullivan, and she had come out, we knew she was going to be on, it was the Palladium episode, I think, and she sang Smile, and she comes out, and they're giving her a standing ovation. She hadn't done anything yet. And I'm about 8 or 9, and I'm in the room with my dad, and I'm, Daddy, why are they doing that? Well, he explained what a standing ovation was. Okay, but why are they doing it for Judy? Because of all the things she's done before. Well, what has she done before? And Daddy goes, she's a great singer. I go, she is? I didn't have a clue. So I started getting all these movie magazines and newspapers and things after she died. I was astounded. I would come home with tales about Carnegie Hall and the Palace and the other movies she made. And I just couldn't believe that this was someone I had played with in my kitchen, who taught me how to sit cross-legged and dunked me into a bowl and all this stuff. Yeah, I couldn't believe it was the same person. And I would come home and I would read some of these things to Dot, and then she would get, especially the lies, the bad stuff, and Dot would get mad. And that's what started this whole thing with the book. She would, that didn't happen, I was there, that's not how it was. How dare they talk that way about you, you know? And that's when she decided to write her book, to set the record straight and to show everyone not only what an amazing talent she was, but what a wonderful, kind and loving, genius human being she was.
And there's some incredible stories in your book. They obviously traveled together quite a bit. There's some great stories of them going to overseas to Paris, and this is all stuff that that your aunt wrote down and you sort of fashioned into a novel, a book, and some of the other people that she met. But also, let's talk about what a groundbreaking person she was in the business, being the first female makeup artist and basically an all-male business, right? I mean, as far as you told me, she was the first one.
She was. She got into makeup by accident. She started out in silent movies as an actress and a dancer and an extra. She was on the set one day of the movie Follow Through in 1929 with Nancy Carroll. My aunt was not one to hold back her opinion. Gee, where does that come from? So when the cameraman was having trouble lighting Nancy, Dot, who was an extra, spoke up and said, "Why don't you do this?" You know, and she suggested it. Nancy liked it. They did it. It worked. And Nancy requested my aunt's services as a makeup artist for the production office. The production office said, "We can't do that. She's a woman. There's only men in this union." So Nancy said, "Okay, I'll do it myself." So she did it herself. She did it purposely rotten. So they had to scrap all that they shot. So that's how Dot got started. They got Dot in there. Dot, that was 1929. Dot didn't become a member of the union until 37, because they fought her at every turn. but she proceeded, she ended up working with and for Mae West, Dietrich, Lombard, Stanwyck, and every time I had asked her how she managed to deal with all this, she would tell me the story, and it turned out to be a true story that I had verification from Francis D. That once again, one of the times she was trying to join the union and get approval, they again were turning her down. The Westmores were the head of the union, and it was the end, yeah, big surprise. It was the end of the week. It was a particular week. Both Dietrich and Mae West told the production head, if she is not allowed into the union by Monday, we're not coming to work. When you have the two top money makers at Paramount threatening to not come into work, she was in the union. I have her papers. I have her application and the signature of Ern Westmore. She was allowed into the union. But it was a struggle. Even as late as 1951, she did makeup tests on Leslie Caron for An American in Paris. She was not allowed to complete the movie. They needed the male makeup artist to do it. Leslie Caron herself told me it was too bad because she didn't like what the guy did. She wanted Dot to do it.
And she never got credited on screen.
No, she never got credit on screen.
Okay.
I asked her about that once too, because my dad got credit for some of the Sinatra things he did. And I said, Dot, why, you could have forced it. You could have had Judy do something. And she said, as long as they spell my name right on the paycheck, I don't care.
Well, to hear more of this story, please pick up a copy of the book. She's going to be signing them in the back. I also, before we open it up to questions, we have another special friend of ours, George Shakiris is here tonight. You all know George from so many incredible performances. And he has a story or a joke about Judy. You want to tell us it? Come on up. Come on. I'm going to give you the mic so everybody can hear you, George. And you can tell us about Judy.
Okay, this is not an extraordinary story, but in the 50s, I was working as a chorus dancer in a lot of the great movie musicals, The Gentleman for Blondes, White Christmas, There's No Vicious Like Shoulders, and so on. And in between jobs, of course, all the dancers looked for other work. And in 1956, Judy Garland was doing her first appearance in Las Vegas. And it was being staged and choreographed by a choreographer, fantastic man, who did so much in Broadway and at MGM musicals. His name was Robert Alton. And she loved Robert Alton. Everybody loved Robert Alton. And by the way, Roger Edens, who worked, of course, with Kay Thompson, all those people at Metro, wrote the opening number for this particular show that Judy was doing in Vegas. She had, I think, 11 male dancers working with her, and each one in the opening number carried a placard with a single letter on it, so that at the end of the number it spelled Judy Garland, and she came out. One of the other words that I remember it spelled was Jaguar. Okay. My job working for Robert Alton was to teach the guys what they had to do. And he has this wonderful woman who's still a very good friend of mine, Joan Bailey, to work with Judy and teach her what she was supposed to do. And what we were using to rehearse with was her latest album, I think it was just called Judy. And one of the big songs on it was Come Rain or Come Shine. There was a small record player, and we played the album to rehearse to. So we never had, great sound or anything like that. And Judy never really sang out very much. And after a few weeks or something, I remember Joan Bailey said to Robert Alton, she was worried, and she said, when is she going to do it? And he said, just wait. And that's all we had to do was just wait. She was, and by the way, Liza used to come to rehearsal. She was about 14 and dressed really beautifully, patent leather shoes, darling, darling young girl. And she also wanted to learn things, and she wanted to learn what the guys were doing, so that meant she was asking me to show her different steps. And just one thing quickly about Liza, Judy Garland was famous for many, many, many wonderful things, but one of them was for learning really, really quickly. So she didn't need to rehearse forever, you know? And Liza was that way too. Liza really, really learned. She learned faster than the guys and I did. But let's see, what else can I have to tell you? There was Judy Garland loved to tell stories, you know, play around. And she told one joke that I do remember. It's what we call a dirty joke. Can I tell you this joke?
Well, if
Please.
anyone's sensitive, please leave now.
Is it okay?
I'm going to go. Okay.
Please.
Well, and by the way, it starts out, she's telling a story about two black guys. This is not a racist story, but just the way she told the story. Two black guys. They've been friends since they were 2 years old. They've known each other forever. They're now adult young men. And one of them is getting married the next day. And they think, oh my God, we've got to do something. Let's go out, let's celebrate. And so they go everywhere. They drink everything. And they get so drunk that they end up in a fight. They just get in this horrible fight with each other, pull out their knives, and they start slashing each other and almost killing each other. So finally the police come and they have to stop this fight. Both of these guys are very seriously hurt. They're both sent to emergency, different hospitals to emergency, and they're sedated, they're operated on, and you know, they're quiet, they're in the hospital overnight. And in the morning, one of them he has to get out. He tells the nurse, I've got to get out of bed. She said, sir, you can't. You're very seriously injured. You mustn't move. Don't try and move anything. You'll break the stitches. I've got to get up. I've got to get up. I've got to get out of this hospital. I've got to get out of that. Sir, please be quiet. The doctors have said you must be missed. You don't understand. I've got to get out of the hospital. My best friend is getting married tomorrow, and I've got his cock in my pocket.
Oh
Sorry.
my, oh my.
But that was a joke coming from petite Judy Garland in a pink man's shirt. And, I mean, it was hysterical coming from her. So anyway,
Wow.
you know, so I was around her. We all were around
Sit
for a
down,
long
George.
time. That's enough.
George Shakir is Academy Award-winning actor performer. George Shakir. Well, we've got a lot of other business to take care of. Are there any questions for Les or Meredith? Yeah.